Hello everyone, and welcome to my tier ranking of Bond women. Let's not waste any time and get started right away with the first woman to ever be blasted in a Bond movie. Gotta give her B tier for that. Sylvia Trench, she is hitting S tier, no question. She's a very special character because she's the first character to interact with James Bond. She's incredibly memorable. Her ability to raise her eyebrow is remarkable. And I like how her character crosses two movies. Moving on to this little fucking sneak. Snapping pictures of Bond and Quarrel who are just trying to enjoy their night at the tiki bar. So she gets her arm twisted in a brief interrogation. She's got a memorable face. She gets kicked out of this movie and we never see her again. I'll give her C for that. Moving our way through Dr. No, we've arrived at Miss Tarot. The only woman that Bond ever has arrested and the only woman to ever spit in Bond's face. I like the way she rolls over in bed while talking on the phone. I like the way she answers the door. I like the dresses she puts on. I like the faces she makes. And I like that she spits in faces, particularly Bond's. And I'll bet Bond still counts this as a kiss. Moving on to Honey Rider. She may be iconic, waltzing out of that ocean with her seashells and that knife on her belt. But if I asked you to quote me one line that Honey Rider says in this movie, would you be able to do it? Singing underneath the mango tree does not count. She's just not given her own anything other than be a tag-along. Who the fuck are these two? What are they doing on this list? Just a couple of fucking bellhops in Dr. No's lair? We need to make a new category. Add a row below. We are going to call it I Don't Know. No, I don't remember. Actually, I don't care. Could be any of the three, though. Let's make it white. There we go. 1, 2. Now we've reached our next movie from Russia with Love, and here's Tatiana, given a bit more to do than Honey Rider. She's sort of caught between both sides, and she has a bit of complexity to her, even though she follows Bond around like Tails throughout this whole movie. So I think we'll give her A tier. Moving on to a couple of tumbling gypsies. Well, who doesn't like to watch a couple of women tumble around for Bond's affection? Gonna have him in C, though, because while I like watching them tumble around with each other, they sort of slow the movie down a bit at a point when it actually needs to start picking up its pace. Moving on to some fucking woman in a tub. Perfect for I don't care tier. Now we've reached Pussy Galore. She's in S tier for 3 reasons, and she could be out of S tier for 1 reason. She's in S tier because her name's Pussy Galore, because she's memorable, and because she's integral to the plot. She could lose S tier because the writing of this character is absolutely stupid by the end of the movie. Why does she switch allegiances? Oh, well, because Bond tells her that Goldfinger's plan is quite mad. That got her thinking, yeah, maybe what I'm doing is wrong. And it only took Bond sexually assaulting her to finally get her brain to snap into place and realize that she needs to switch allegiances. So I sort of just come up with my own reason as to why Pussy Galore changed her mind. Now, I'm actually going to move this woman under the Gypsy Fighters. That's better. Okay, Jilly. What the fuck's her name? Julie Masterson? Oh, shame on me for forgetting this S-tier girl's name, man. No, she's at the top of S so far, and I forget her fucking name. I know it's Masterson. Jill Masterson. Or is it Tilly? This is Jill. Okay, Jill. So she's the top of S-tier because she occupies probably the most iconic scene in the entire series. Yeah, the whole gold-painted body thing in the bed. I love it. Moving on to her sister, Tilly Masterson. She's going to go in B tier for me. Tilly does not have an iconic scene like Jilly. Tilly is killed for a stupider reason than Jilly. Tilly is not as good of an actress as Jilly. So while you may find these reasons silly, I don't really give a hillbilly. Now moving on to... should have been more memorable, sorry. Now this woman that stares at Bond through peepholes on planes. You know, I remember her more for being a boss character in this Goldfinger N64 game, so that adds to it for me. C. Okay, moving on to some woman that's a pilot. I don't care. I don't know. Don't remember. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you Domino, the top of S tier, the queen of this board. When I pick up the phone and order Domino's, this is what I wish I got. Domino might be my favorite Bond girl of the entire series. You're saying, well, give me reasons, give me reasons. Here's one. Here's another. How about this? Yeah, I think all of her dialogue could be dubbed. That doesn't really matter. It's just her existing within the frame makes the movie better. Still in Thunderball, and now we're at Frappuccino Vulpix. She's definitely the most memorable villain in the movie Thunderball, and the only reason she's not S is probably because she doesn't get to see the second half of the movie. I just wanted even more from her. Didn't really get it. But I'm going to have her an A. Now, this woman that Bond blackmails into having sex before pushing her into a steam room and doing God knows what. I'll give her right below Tilly, because I like the way she says, oh no, with like the finger wag and the smile. Like, she looked like she was totally into it because, you know, she was written to be into it, even though this is still like blackmail rapadoodle. Moving on to some woman that just stands next to Bond on boats sometimes, helps him out with a thing or two. Okay, so now, here we are, and You Only Live Twice. Now, this woman, just gonna have her at the top of C for occupying the opening scene to You Only Live Twice, which is not a very great scene. Bond's just mumbling to her from his bed. She's like, would you rather love me or a duck or something? And Bond's just like, oh, I'd rather take the duck because they're different. I don't even fucking remember exactly what he says, but he says some fucking stupid line that he mumbles out of his fucking bored mouth. And here's the woman that pushes a fucking haunted house trap button and has Bond drop down to meet his new best friend Tanaka. Then they get engaged, and then she gets dead because she drank some poison that trickled down a string that was meant for Bond. So then this is just like the next woman lined up for Bond to marry after his first woman dies, then they just give him another one. Like, oh, sorry about that. Here's your replacement. Like, call us in 90 days if something goes wrong. All right, now moving on to Helga Brandt. I can't believe I remembered that. I definitely remember this woman's looks more easily than her name. So, see anything you like? All of it's destroyed by fish. Moving on to some woman that massages Bond somewhere in You Only Live Twice. Moving on to Tracy, Bond's wife. Well, this is probably the most contentious entry on this entire board. I will say, when she catches it in the noodle at the end of the movie, it does have gravity to it. Both the characters of Tracy and Domino, you need a box of tissues, just for two completely different reasons. I'll just give her the middle of A. Is that good enough for everybody? Moving on to Who the Hell Are You? I don't care. Okay, these are Majesty women. Jesus, there's a lot of them. So all the while Lazenby is falling in love with Diana Rigg, he's also making a pit stop to fuck City. I don't remember how many of these women Lazenby bang. Oh, this one I actually want to put up higher. Let's put her like top of B, just for looking like that. Just never ends, does it, Lazenby? All right, now we're moving on to Diamonds Are Forever. So Bond's just hopping from country to country, strangling random people, asking them where Blofeld is. And this woman's just next in line for that treatment. Bond rips her own bra off and strangles her with it until she spills the beans. Most of these characters aren't doing anything to hurt the movie. That's why they're in C. We don't have any D's or F's yet, which is kind of unbelievable. Let me just look over this again and just think about that. Do we really not have any D's or F's? The ones that I hate, that's what D and F is for. And we'll have some of those, but I guess early on in the Connery era, I didn't really have much hatred for any of these characters. All right, let's move on to Tiffany Case. I gotta speed this up, man. Tiffany Case, while she is memorable, and I do like some of her line delivery and back and forth with Sean Connery, I think her hair is just really the problem here. So let's just move on quickly.
Hi, I'm Plenty.
But of course you are.
Plenty O'Toole.
She's in like one scene where she's alive, one scene that's deleted, and one scene where she's dead. And she is kind of annoying, but she is also kind of endearing. And memorable. Plenty O'Toole, you're not crossing. I'm going to call this girl Rachel. She looks like a Rachel to me. Moving on to Bambi and Thumper. Well, both of them scare me. One of them arouses me, and the other just scares me. I'll let you decide which is which, but here's a hint. The one that looks like Cammy from Street Fighter is the one that I like, and the other that looks like a Dennis Rodman Pez dispenser is the one that I'm not so much interested in. Moving on to some woman that shushes Moneypenny after she just got done waking up with Bond. Yeah, good enough because she occupies a debuting Bond scene. And I've never seen anybody do a shush better. Moving on to Solitaire. The only character with a supernatural ability. That's right. This character is able to basically read the future. And I do like a lot of Solitaire's clothes. Near the top of A for that. Moving on to this other character in Live and Let Die. Sorry, Rosie. She's getting an F tier. Every line that comes out of her mouth is obnoxious and annoying and completely off kilter. Now moving on to Mrs. Bell. This is another F-tier character. This is just another one of those stupid tacky parts in Live and Let Die that really brings that movie down for me. This woman, just some woman on the phone, who cares? Now we're moving on to Man with the Golden Gun. Goodnight is just a D-tier character. She's just there to wear a bikini and run around. Alright, now Maude Adams. She was actually shot, yet her head remains upright. Strange. Very stiff woman, I guess. Well, let's just have her at the top of C. Moving on to this woman that Bond eats her belly button ring. Don't really care. Don't care. Don't care. Don't care. Agent Triple X from The Spy Who Loved Me. Alright, this is definitely one of those A-tier Bond women, at the least, at the bare least. Well, up to this point, there's no character like Triple X. She can hold her own. There's a bit of a complicated matter between her and Bond. You know, since Bond killed her boyfriend out on the slopes that day. She's a bit upset about that, so a little bit of tension there makes the movie more interesting. She apparently thinks that karate chops beat guns in a game of rock, paper, scissors, and she doesn't much seem to need Bond's help through most of this movie until she's captured and tied to a chair at the end of the movie and needs to be rescued. A lot of people do. Good enough for mid-A for me. Oh, sweet God. Sweet God. Aside from the wink that James Franco gave Toby in Spider-Man, Naomi performs my favorite wink in all of cinema history.
So good.
I'm going to have her literally right here. It's just the way it is. All right, now moving on to this other woman that Bond spins into a bullet in The Spy Who Loved Me. Some say she spun herself into the bullet. And I'm saying, why would she do that for some guy that she doesn't even know? This woman's classy. You know what I mean? Naomi is the new gatekeeper of A. Now moving on to this woman that gets dropped into the shark tank by Stromberg. A very memorable scene for a very memorable dead girl. One step above the secretary that gets blasted during an awkward jump cut in Dr. No. Moving on to some woman fanning Bond with a fucking palm branch in some Egyptian-themed setting. Not much I can do for you. I'm not even sure what movie we're in at this point. This woman, holy smokes. I feel ashamed, man. I put myself in F tier for not recognizing this woman. Is this a deleted scene or something? I guess I'll just put her up here in this class. Alright, this woman in the opening scene of Moonraker, she's making out with Bond. They're about to have some sex. But she pulls a gun and she says, "Not so fast. We're here to kill you, Mr. Bond. And we've planned this whole thing to a T. So you just sit there while I put on my parachute and shoot the controls. And then me and this other fat man that we're hiding on the plane are going to jump out of it while you're stuck here without a parachute. Ah. Oh, and by the way, Jaws is in the back too." What the fuck kind of setup is going on here? Doesn't matter, this opening scene is awesome. And the movie Moonraker forgets about this character in the same way you just forgot about her as I've been talking. Right about here. Now moving on to Dr. Goodhead. More like Dr. Bad Acting. Hang on, James. Pleasing on the eyes, but that is not a rarity when it comes to women in the Bond universe. I'll give her top of C. Now moving on to Corinne. So Bond uses her, and then he's off into space while she's back on Earth getting torn apart by Dobermans. I give her even more favor than Diana Rigg. Yeah. What are you gonna do about it? Now moving on to Snow White. Oh, Christ in heaven. Look at this. Well, the Mandela effect applies to this character more than any other in the entire series. Because let me ask you, does this girl have braces? That's why her and Jaws fell in love at first sight, right? Well, guess what? She doesn't have them. Entirely fucking stupid, but you can't help but just snicker at it a little bit, so congratulations, I guess? You could be the gatekeeper to see? Now moving on to another woman that I don't fucking remember, followed by another one that I don't fucking remember, followed by some woman that looks familiar but I don't give a shit, followed by is this Christopher Walken in a fucking fedora, followed by another woman that I have no fuck... It's just a bunch of women that stand around in Moonraker. There's a lot of them. Okay. Finally, we've come across somebody that I think quite highly of. I like Melina a lot, enough for S tier. Yes, I know your jaw is on the floor and you just cracked your bottom teeth. But let me tell you what, I just like her, and I don't even really need a good reason beyond that to give her S tier. Now moving on to BB. Alright, well, there's a few reasons why I don't like For Your Eyes Only so much, and BB is one of those reasons. She just shows up in this movie as a little figure skater that wants to bang Bond for no reason, just because Bond happens to be standing there, which Bond refuses. So why the fuck is she in this movie other than to just ice skate and have the villain smack her in the face? Oh look, here's Pierce Brosnan's wife in real life that Mr. Octangular Glasses runs over with one of those fucking sand buggies from GTA Vice City. Yeah, sad to see her go. So I'll credit her with a B tier. Alright. Well, here's a woman villain from, I believe, Never Say Never Again, which is a Bond movie that I've only seen once or twice. I don't even think I finished it the second time because I just disliked the movie so much. But I do remember her sort of standing out. And if I ever watch that movie again, she would be one of the only reasons why I would. So for that, I'm giving her the back of C. Actually, I'll give her the top of C. She can be the gatekeeper to B. Alright, now Kim Basinger from Never Say Never Again. I just don't give a shit. Bianca. So here's a girl that's 17 years old, helping a 55-year-old James Bond with an infiltration at the beginning of Octopussy. This is one of my favorite opening sequences, and she's a part of it. Short role, but I'm giving her B for it.
Well, I must say you become more beautiful every day.
I am over here.
Oh, of course you are.
And this is
Miss Penelope Smallbone. Moneypenny's replacement that didn't actually replace Moneypenny. Octopussy. With Roger Moore getting very long in the tooth by this point, they just kind of look like they actually go together. So I'm going to give her top 10 for that. Now moving on to the woman who says, "That's my little Octopussy."
That's my little Octopussy.
That line delivery is so magnificent that I'm going to give her a respectable B tier for it. And we'll put these two jumping circus jelly beans in I don't care tier. This woman, don't remember, don't care. Now we're in A View to a Kill, and Bond is not going to return to an empty sub disguised as a glacier and not bang somebody. Now moving on to a woman that is awfully criticized as one of the worst Bond girls. Yeah, I would agree. Now we're moving on to Mayday. Okay, now here's somebody that makes A View to a Kill a better movie. Just by her standing alongside Max Zorin makes him much more imposing, because both of them come across as absolutely psychotic. And what's weird is I don't even question it. Now moving on to Jenny Flex in her little horse jockey outfit. There is something about her, though, that just kind of makes me feel a little tinge of sourness when she gets dead. Still good enough for C tier on my board, Miss Flex. Some lady standing there. Moving on to some woman in a tub. Not memorable, probably because I want to forget. This looks like Sarah Connor from Terminator 1. Well, if that's who it was, then she would be somewhere in S tier. Let me zoom in. No idea. Moving on to this woman on the phone. who gets interrupted by Timothy Dalton. I wish they went in a different direction when Timothy Dalton landed atop the roof of her boat and then swung down like a fucking bat from the ceiling, like Dracula. And instead of her being freaked out, she passes him a Chardonnay and invites him to bang. I'm putting her in F tier because I think she sort of detracts from the seriousness that I'm wanting from The Living Daylights. Better make that 2. Now we get to Kara from The Living Daylights, and I almost want to rocket her ass right into S tier for being one of the most memorable Bond girls in the entire series, for actually having chemistry with Bond. I'd say the biggest problem with her is her, like, doofiness, and I've never liked her haircut. I think she looks like Milo from Death Note. I feel like she's not invited to the top 10 for that reason. Sorry, Car. No, you know what? I think I'll give you above Maud. You are in the top 10. Congratulations. I sort of admire your ability to play the Stradivarius. Moving on to some smiling woman. It's actually sort of creeping me out. Some other woman that is creeping me out. Who are you now? Oh, okay, I remember. So it's definitely one of those scenes that's definitely like, here for acting talent. All right, now we're in License to Kill, and we got Pam and Lupe. I'm going to put Pam maybe below the hot deck here. She cuts her hair, and I think right here she kind of looks like Bill Skarsgård. So not a very good still image, but within the actual movie, I think she plays a decent enough character. I think Bond should have went with Lupe at the end, just because Lupe knows how to style her hair better. She knows how to be a better character in this movie. I'm actually going to bring her into the top 10, and Kara can go above Agent XXX. Okay, now moving on to this ninja girl that gets blasted. And just because they are ninjas, I mean, so what? Are you going to complain about ninjas? Let's go with right here. Moving on to this woman.
I've come to make a small deposit.
I'm sure my people downstairs are quite capable of it. Please sit down.
Okay, Bond's evaluator. She's sort of just there to showcase this new debuting Bond is still a womanizing ladies' man that always gets his way with whoever he wants. She's obviously very, like, conservative, but cute. I'm going to give her straight up, like, middle of B. Maybe, like, right above this unknown woman. Now moving on to Natalia Simonova. One of my favorite Bond girls. She's totally getting S tier. Just because this is actually, like, a believable character. I think she's interesting and complex. She has great chemistry with Brosnan's Bond in the movie. She's just one of the many reasons why GoldenEye is my favorite Bond movie. I think I will have to just give her top of S, even beating out Domino, which feels sacrilegious right now. Natalia may need a rescue here and there, but without some of the assertive actions that she takes, this whole mission is fucked. And she only seems to grow stronger as the movie goes along. She even knows how to use this fucking gun when Bond hands it to her. And jacks this helicopter so Bond can get the fuck out of there at the end. It's a long list of things Natalia does to be an S-tier character, and one of my favorite Bond girls. Congrats, Natalia. You're at the top. Not anymore. Xenia Onatop is on the top of this fucking list, and she would ride every one of these women like Seabiscuit and break all of their necks. She's probably the most evil and sadistic character that we've ranked on this board thus far. She is a cold, sinister fucking bitch. And she's able to do a Russian accent in a way that's actually believable. She's just one of those characters that steals every scene that she's in. Xenia Onatop blasts the shit out of
Anna. You wouldn't know a woman if one came up and sat on his head.
Alright, now moving on to this fucking annoying Catwoman. I'm just putting her in F. I never liked her. Whenever I'd watch GoldenEye when I was little, I would fast forward the VHS tape to skip through the part where this woman's singing. It just was so annoying. If there were other people in the room, I would be embarrassed. Alright, now we're in Tomorrow Never Dies. Thoroughly entertaining Bond movie, and Michelle Yeoh is a big part of the reason why. She's one of those characters that can totally accomplish the entire mission herself without Bond. Anytime she is kicking ass, she is by herself. Bond is always in some other room somewhere or taking a walk.
Pathetic.
I don't buy the romance whatsoever between her and Bond that they shoehorn into this movie. I think I'll give her right here. All right, moving on to Paris, Bond's former lover that we never knew about. And now she's the main villain's current lover. You know, how convenient. But for some reason, the way Bond is in his hotel room with his tux all undone, and the way she walks in, just the whole sequence to me feels so Bondian. Like, this woman is being showcased as if she was Natalia from GoldenEye, and that would have made a lot more sense. Even though a lot of people would criticize this for being like a soap opera, I like the lines of dialogue exchanged between Paris and Bond. I'm going to give her just behind Mayday. I think most people would disagree, but that's just where I'm feeling she goes. What is this, the TX from Terminator 3? It looks like somebody I should remember, but I have no fucking clue who this is, so I guess I don't care. This is the woman that Carver fires when the power goes out, and she just has no idea what happened, so Carver just fires her to take out his childish aggression on somebody. What do you mean we're off the air? I mean, we're off the air. You're fired. Get out of my sight. Just funny to me. I mean, unfortunate for her, but just kind of funny. A woman who looks like she was stung in the face by a pufferfish. Okay, so this woman is an interesting one for me. This whole opening sequence is one of my most memorable theater-going experiences, and this woman is part of that, and for that very fucking reason, I'm going to give her S tier, but I'll have her at the back. Now moving on to Electric King. Another amazing part about an overall poor movie, in my opinion. She's introduced as being sympathetic. Turns out she's the main villain, and she's the lover of the other villain, who unfortunately is wasted. I'm moving Pussy at the bottom of S just because her character is written stupidly. Now moving on to Denise Richards as Christmas Jones. Gets a lot of flack. For me, there's worse things about the movie than Christmas Jones. Most of the movie feels like it was directed by a second unit. But I really don't think she's that bad, honestly. I'm just going to give her right here. Moving on to gives Bond a physical and then has sex with him. Just another one of those. Maybe right above Shushki. Now moving on to Jinx from Die Another Day. Let's just go ahead and jump into F tier with that one. I think Die Another Day is a highly amusing and entertaining movie, but none of that comes from Halle Berry's character. I think she is just weird and bizarre and miscast. I'd rather there just not even be a Bond girl in this movie. And you're saying, what's the problem? It really, Yo Mama? The whole thing is just a fucking joke, and I'm not laughing. Alright, now Miranda Frost. Now that's better. Here's someone that is totally underutilized in Die Another Day. So let's just put her right here. Madonna. Okay, she's just standing around in the fucking sword house, stands there and mutters lines, and she's just there to stand there and be like, look at me, I'm Madonna, and I'm in this movie. Isn't that exciting? No, not really. All right, now moving on to I'm Not That Kind of Masseuse. Serves her purpose, I guess, in an otherwise meaningless scene in an overall meaningless movie. Now moving on to Vesper, a character that I better put in S tier or I'm going to lose the remaining 13% of people that are still watching this video. When it comes to acting talent, she's got it. When it comes to chemistry with Bond, she's got it. People find this to be the most powerful aspect of the entire Bond series. You know what? I'm totally down with that being cool, and I'm totally observant to it. But she's not one of my favorite Bond girls. I think Casino Royale just needs even more time to become a classic, and then she'll grow on me even more. Now moving on to Solange. Is that how you say it? The whole sequence with Bond humiliating this woman's boyfriend, beating him in the card game, taking his fucking car, driving his woman around in his car. I really like this stuff here. I'm going to give her an A tier. I think she did a good job in the movie, given what little time she had in it. Now moving on to this woman who almost gets her arm chopped off. Dude, this face she's making right here is like making me crazy. Now moving on to somebody that I don't care the fuck about, so I'm gonna put them in the white zone. You know, Quantum of Solace is another Bond movie that gets curb-stomped into oblivion, but I also can recognize what deserves to be praised. Camille deserves to be praised. Not only is she extraordinarily pleasing on the eyes, but I think she is a sympathetic and interesting character. This woman went through some hard shit, and she's motivated by revenge, similarly to Melina. So I like her. I think I like her even more than Vesper, so sue me. I'm going to give her S tier. Bond almost acts brotherly to her. They have more of like a sibling sort of dynamic. Moving on to Strawberry Fields. She's sort of like a much more attractive version of Julianne Moore. I think I'm inviting her to be the new gatekeeper of A tier. No, I think Naomi has to remain gatekeeper of A, but Strawberry Fields can be like her number 2. I'm such a weirdo. And anyway, it doesn't really make sense why she is assigned to become boots on the ground alongside Bond and get involved given his track record. They do like a callback to Goldfinger, but instead of painted in gold, she's covered in oil. But this doesn't play out as hauntingly as it did in Goldfinger. It's just sort of like a useless callback, and I'd rather she just lived. Now moving on to some woman who I think is just sunbathing on the rooftop when Bond is talking with Mathis. So Bond is tying up some loose ends at the end of Quantum, and this woman's just sitting there. I don't know why she's sitting there like that, looking like that, but I'm giving her B tier just for the bone structure of her face. I'll put her under Frost. No, under you. Yep, right there. Moneypenny from Skyfall. Well, a lot of people are of the opinion that Moneypenny should just stick to being a desk jockey. Why is she out in the field? She could have been a 00 herself. Why is she even Moneypenny?
So good.
I think she's one of the better parts of the unfortunateness that is the latter half of the Craig era. Middle of A. Oh, God, I do not want to talk about this again. The movie Skyfall drags Severin down its vag crack and up into its ass cavity. It's very fucking unfortunate what Skyfall does to the character of Severin, what Bond does to the character of Severin. So just because of how much emphasis I give to the character of Severin, that's why she's an S, but she's at the back of S through no fault of her own character, but through the fault of the movie. Moving on to I don't know, but holy shit, I wish I did. Just gotta put you in I don't care. Sorry. Now moving on to Lucia. Oh look, a woman that's proportionate in age to James Bond. Let's get her the fuck out of this movie. Come on, somebody bring me an 18-year-old. What the fuck is it with these Craig Bond movies screwing up who should be the Bond girl throughout the movie? This is Mr. White's daughter. You know, I don't really buy into anything that goes on with her character or chemistry between her and Bond. All of it's just forced under Ninja Girl. I'll be a little bit nicer. All right, now we're in No Time to Die. Just going to give this woman F. You want her to be in the movie? You want her to be a badass? Let her be another 00. Why she got to be 007? Oh, just because some people like to fundamentally compromise a character source material just for no reason other than to get a rise out of people for politically charged reasons. And finally, Paloma, the best part of the worst Bond movie. Yeah, who doesn't love a hot woman that's good at karate? She's got a funny, quirky little personality, and she's obviously very skilled, but all of this just feels like second-rate John Wick. So that's it, folks. I appreciate you being here, and wherever you are, whatever time it is, I hope you're having a wonderful day or night.